Ramadan. For well over 1 billion Muslims, it's a month of deep spiritual discipline. But beneath that surface of devotion, there's a really complex, often hidden struggle going on. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the tension between the sacred ideal of Ramadan and the messy, modern reality so many people are actually living.
Let's just jump right in with this pretty startling admission from a writer named Abe Levitt. His story, right there, shines a light on a hidden dilemma. It kind of reveals this whole world where the public performance of faith doesn't always line up with private reality.
And yet, this isn't just a story about one guy snaking a meal. It's about a much bigger conflict that's playing out in Muslim communities all over the world. This pressure to conform, the fear of being judged, and that really painful choice between being honest and keeping the peace with your family.
So, to really get what's going on here, we have to back up a little bit. We need to look at what Ramadan is supposed to be. What's the spiritual foundation of this whole month-long observance?
Okay, the key thing to understand here is the idea of Sawm, which is the Arabic word for fasting. And notice how it's defined, a spiritual journey of struggle. The goal isn't just about not eating or drinking, it's about purifying your soul, practicing some serious self-control, and trying to strengthen that connection with God.
And this is a huge point you see come up in online discussions among Muslims. The whole purpose is for God. Whether somebody gains or loses a few pounds during the month, well, that completely misses the point of the religious exercise. The focus is meant to be internal, not what you see on the outside.
But what happens when that internal feeling just doesn't line up with what everyone around you expects? Well, this is where that social pressure really kicks in, and it leads to this phenomenon that some people call fake fasting.
It's a totally fair question, right? If you don't believe in it or you just don't want to do it, why not just say so? But as we see from Abe Love's story, the answer is, well, it's incredibly complicated.
And when you look at the reasons, you start to get it. It's not always about some big act of rebellion. For a lot of people, it's about trying to manage these really tricky social dynamics. Maybe they see themselves as a more casual Muslim, or maybe they've left the faith entirely but are terrified of the cruel judgment they'd get from their family. A lot of the time, it's just a survival strategy to make it through the month without a huge fight.
And this whole thing, it becomes this elaborate performance. It can be super meticulous. Abe Love talks about having to plan out where to eat lunch. He actually says bars or even Hooters are safe bets because you're not likely to run into other Muslims. But then comes the real challenge. You have to sit down for iftar, the sunset meal, and act just as starved as everybody else at the table.
So that leads us to a totally different kind of tension. This one isn't about the people who aren't fasting, but about the habits of many people who are. You could call it the iftar paradox.
I mean, talk about a provocative question. Somebody actually posted this on a Muslim Reddit forum, and it just sparked this huge debate. The person who posted it pointed out that, in most traditions, fasting leads to weight loss. But a lot of Muslims actually gain weight during Ramadan. So, how is that possible?
Well, here's the paradox in a nutshell. You've got this massive gap. On one side, there's the Sunnah, the traditions of the Prophet Muhammad, which is all about moderation and self-control. But then you have the modern reality, which, according to a lot of frustrated Muslims online, has become a nightly feast. You've got people saying they stuff their faces with fried food, and others complaining about the huge amount of food that gets wasted.
And this comment, man, it just perfectly captures the heart of that frustration. There's this clear feeling among some people that the cultural habits around the evening meal have started to overshadow and maybe even contradict the actual spiritual teachings of Ramadan. So when you put these two issues together, the social pressure that leads to fake fasting and the consumerist urge to feast, they both point to the same thing. They point to a very modern struggle between the individual and the community when it comes to faith.
See, on one hand, Ramadan is supposed to be this deeply personal, internal journey toward God. But on the other hand, it's also a massive community event, and it's governed by social rules and cultural habits. And when those two powerful forces collide, it leaves people like Abe Love completely caught in the middle.
And that's the predicament, laid out as plainly as it gets. It's a choice between being true to yourself and facing all the backlash that might come with it, or keeping the peace by living a lie for a whole month, every single year. And for a lot of people, neither of those options feels like a win.
So what you should take away from this isn't some simple answer. It's really about a bigger question about what happens to faith in the 21st century. This whole dilemma kind of forces us to ask, when a sacred practice starts to be defined as much by social rules as it is by spiritual ones, whose journey does it really become?